Hello, my friends. I want to explain the importance of accurate and truthful reframes in your recovery. And really, this boils down to one thing. Your limbic system needs to understand why your symptoms are happening. You have all the stress chemistry, again, the chemistry of threat and danger running through your brain and nervous system when you are in active limbic impairment. And you all have all these symptoms, and your limbic system is constantly trying to figure out where the danger's coming from because the chemistry's there. We have all these scary symptoms, but what's causing it? Why is it happening? Where's the bad guy, right? How do we fix it? Those are the questions at the most forefront of your limbic system's mind, as I'm sure you know very well, because it probably reminds you of that 10,000 times a day. So this is where accurate reframes come in, because we have all these limbic stories about how, well, the symptoms have always been here, or it's been here for such a long time, or it's still here. Why hasn't it gone away? And those can generate a lot of doubt and a lot of, searching for other solutions, getting really discouraged and scared about your process, losing faith in neuroplasticity, and just overall making your process, a lot less effective, your life a lot harder. I want to give a couple of very concrete examples that may not apply specifically to you, but I want you to take the underlying message from that as best you can. So a couple of areas I've seen this in are things where, for a lot of folks, they've had limbic impairment for a long time, possibly their whole lives, or they've been limbic for a very long time. There's people where, you've had a certain symptom or a certain set of symptoms since you were like 8 or 13 or 15 or 17, and you could be in your 40s or 50s now and being like, well, but this thing's always been here. Like, how could I ever expect to heal that? Like, it's still here, and your brain's just like, it's never going to change because it's been here like our whole lives. Why would that change? And one really concrete reframe around something like that is that for a lot of people who grew up without their regulatory needs being met, meaning when you were in distress, you were not met with what you needed to come back to calm, whether that was love, acceptance, emotional validation, food, warmth, shelter, information about how the world works, not living in an abusive environment, whatever it may be, you didn't get that. So at a very young age. And what happens is, your nervous system is how you think of it, like a buffer for life. When you get enough, when your regulatory needs are met, there is this softness and this buffer between you and the sensory world and the world at large, and your relationship to work and hobbies and your to-do list and yourself and other people. There's this softness there. And we can stay in and rest and digest. We feel safe. We stay in relaxation. If those needs weren't met, the world feels very overwhelming because we don't have that cushion. It's kind of like having a joint with no cartilage. Just the raw experience of being alive feels overstimulating and abrasive on your brain and nervous system. And so for a lot of people, they'll go into a functional freeze at a very young age. I know I did when I was like 5, and I've had clients where it was like they remember that point. It was when they were 7 or when they were 13. At some point, everything seemed fine, and then it just shut down because they didn't have enough regulation for the world to feel safe. And that freeze response is genuinely protective. It's keeping you, it's kind of shutting everything down so that you're not getting all this flood of sensory input and information that feels really overwhelming. You're just in shutdown, and so that's not happening. And that is protective. But it's when you're in that kind of a freeze state, it's going to come alongside symptoms. You're going to have digestive symptoms. You're going to have fatigue, brain fog, depression, pain, so many kinds. Those are just, that's not comprehensive at all. There's so many symptoms that you could have had your whole life that are simply because your regulatory needs didn't get met, and or you had early childhood abuse and your system went into a functional freeze at a young age. And understanding that is how you reframe. Now you're 40, now you're 30, now you're 60, and you're like, okay, well, why would I be able to heal my chronic fatigue symptoms now when it's been here my whole life? Well, now you understand that you need enough regulatory input for your world to feel safe to your brain and nervous system for it to be able to come out of that protective freeze. It's like the bucket never got full. Not once, and it needs to be full in order for you to come out of that freeze. So now you have a reason. Now you understand why it's happening, and now you have a very good reason to believe that, oh yeah, of course I can do this. Yeah, I know. Well, yes, I know, brain. I know we've never not had this symptom, or it's been here for so long, but it makes sense why it's been here. Like, it needed to be here. That was just part of being in freeze response, or whatever the case may be. Another common one is people will, your limbic system's going to be activated, and you're going to have symptoms throughout your recovery journey. Symptoms don't fully leave until post-recovery for pretty close to everybody. Recovery is the point at which your limbic system's no longer running the show and the stress switch is mostly off. But in the later stages of recovery, we need to get into a really deep state of relaxation and stay there for a while. There needs to be a healing rest cocoon stage where all of the kind of wear and tear of being in survival for however many years or decades you've been in survival for, all the repair for that can actually happen before you go just like head first and feet first into life and working full time and doing this and being in a relationship and having a family or whatever it is you're doing. There needs to be a bubble period of rest and relaxation. A lot of people don't know that. And so they're going through and they're like, oh my God, why do my symptoms keep coming back? And this, especially if you're still using labels, please do yourself a favor. And it's just, my limbic system is activated. Like, still calling symptoms by their names is one of the worst things you can do, because it keeps reinforcing this idea that there's this mysterious, scary thing that's coming to get you. My fatigue is back. My brain fog is back. My anxiety is back. It's much more like ominous than, oh, my limbic system's activated. I need some dose. So reframing in that way and realizing, like, it's just a matter of, like, you need more dose. Your system's not in a deep state of rest yet. It hasn't had the chance to be. And if it's activated, it's just a sign you need more dose. And then when that symptom comes, instead of responding with fear and doubt and, existential dread and, oh my God, is this never going to work? You're like, oh, I need some dose. I need some love. Okay. Hey, I hear you, self. I love you. I'll give you some love. Very different response. Very, very different. So those are a couple of examples of how giving yourself a scientifically grounded reframe of why you're having the experience you're having is a necessary thing in order for you to fully come out of that feeling of threat and danger and totally rewire your brain and fully recover and say goodbye to your symptoms forever. I love you guys.